So this evening we are very glad to have Ricardo Meade with us to present on our webinar, Monkeys Are Not Pets and 7 Reasons Why. So to introduce, I'll just kick it off with the histories of monkeys in TNT. So the history of New World monkeys goes back as far as 30 million years ago, with Trinidad and its native monkeys being cut off from the mainland sometime at the end of the Pliocene, around 2,500 years ago. It's this biogeographic isolation that has led to the 2 native species to be considered endemic. That is the Trinidad red howler, that is Alouatus niculus insulanis, and the white-fronted capuchin, Cebus albifrons trinitatis, or Cebus trinitatis. The nomenclature is still under some debate. So they're endemic and only found in Trinidad and Tobago. Originally, these 2 species were pervasive across Trinidad and Tobago, well, across Trinidad, I should say, they're not found in Tobago. But now the white-fronted capuchins are mostly restricted to isolated pockets of the forest along the Northern Range, the Western Peninsula, Central Range, Nariva Swamp in the east, and Victoria Mayaro Forest Reserve and the Trinity Hills in the south. The red howlers are found in roughly the same areas, but are a bit more widespread, ranging along the east coast, as you can see here, and as well as the Southwest Peninsula. Unfortunately, the abundance and distribution of our native species has reduced somewhat significantly over time due to disease, habitat loss, hunting, and of course, poaching for the wildlife trade. Also seen in the trade, the pet wildlife trade in Trinidad and Tobago, are the tufted capuchin and the wedge-capped capuchin. The tufted capuchin is ubiquitous across the Amazonian basin and are the most often trafficked species of capuchin into Trinidad. So heavily trafficked that releases have led to an established population in Trinidad's Western Peninsula, with individuals spotted across the country and trade escapees often causing havoc in urban areas. The wedge-capped capuchin is less common, but still frequently traded, and released or escaped individuals have been spotted in Arima Valley, Northern Range, and in Bush Wildlife Sanctuary, as well as in urban areas, equally causing havoc to some people's homes. The other species that have turned up in the trade, but with much less frequency, are the squirrel monkey and the Guyana or black spider monkey. The earliest mention of monkeys in Trinidad was actually from February 1595, when the English pirate captain Sir Robert Dudley said of Trinidad that the country is fertile and full of fruits, strange beasts, fowls, whereof monkeys, babions, and parrots were in great abundance. He also indicated that the local name for primates in Trinidad was hawa, and it's the first reference we know of monkeys in the Caribbean, specifically Trinidad. The monkeys were the white-fronted capuchins, and the babions were the red howler monkeys. Jumping ahead, there wasn't much done before the 1980s as it relates to primate research in Trinidad and Tobago, with much of the focus being on zoonotic diseases like yellow fever. Though there was one survey done in 1972 that looked at the distribution of red howlers. And then moving on from that, through the 90s, there were baseline surveys done on the 2 native species. And then interestingly, in 2010, a survey was done by Darshan Narang and colleagues that looked at the introduced tufted capuchin population in Chaguaramas. These species had been in the trade long before then, but it was through releases in the area, as well as the release of confiscated monkeys through the 80s and early 2000s by wildlife management authorities at the time. Now, that was best practice at the time, and introduced an invasive species science and management has evolved and emerged since then. So best practices have changed. There's no exact date on when the first monkey was released into the area, though there was a zoo built in Scotland Bay in the 40s that some link them to, but this theory doesn't hold much water. It's most likely the continued and frequent releases from the trade that allowed the released population to become large and self-sustaining. So large, in fact, that they are now an established breeding population. And this occurred sometime in the early 2000s, where they're able to reach this critical tipping point. Future scientific studies could focus on the genetics and the population, possibly identifying the origins of the species, as well as surveys to understand more about their ecology and potential invasiveness and distribution in the area. Otherwise, since then in 2014, primates were not the focus, but would have been captured in the National Wildlife Survey and Census. Currently, of course, there's been an increase in the monkey trade in recent years, due in part to the humanitarian crisis in Venezuela, which is a major point source for the harmful pet wildlife trade. There's, of course, the issue, as mentioned, of the introduced non-native species, which has all in turn led to or resulted in a cycle of capture, sale, and release of these species in Trinidad. For the future, though, in the works is a ban on the sale and keeping of capuchins in Guyana, and then at home, the EMA has proposed that the two native species be listed as environmentally sensitive species, which would provide them even greater legal protections. The invitation for public comments for the EMA on this listing is still open, and you can find that on their website if you're still interested to get your comments in before February 18th. Now, the reason that the trade is so concerning to the Nurture Nature campaign is that it perpetuates a whole host of harms. Ecosystem, public health, societal and animal welfare harms abound in the trade. Of course, all of these points will be further explained by our fantastic presenter shortly. But the Nurture Nature campaign finds particularly that the trade in monkeys is particularly cruel, and monkeys especially should not be pets. They are complex, intelligent, wild animals. They have the largest brain to body size ratio of any other primate other than humans. And it's this capacity to think and feel in their own monkey ways that really makes them wholly unsuitable to be pets. They have a EMODE score of difficult to extreme. EMODE is a scientific tool that ranks animals according to how challenging they are to keep. Difficult means that providing appropriate care for such animals is unrealistic for most people, and extreme means that providing the care for these animals is almost impossible for anyone, and even zoos may find challenges in caring for them. Now, our next presenter knows all about the challenges of providing care to these animals with his dedicated work at the Ellsworth Center for Wildlife Conservation, where he is the founder and director. Ricardo has 16 years of experience in wildlife rescue and rehabilitation, and the ECWC has rescued 40 plus monkeys from the harmful pet wildlife trade in Trinidad and Tobago over the years. The ECWC is dedicated to the conservation of wildlife in Trinidad and Tobago through education, rehabilitation, and propagation. And it's a vital member of the Nurture Nature Campaign's NGO coalition. And they also are a member of the International Wildlife Rehabilitation Council. Ricardo is going to tell us about his experience rehabilitating the victims of the pet wildlife trade, the pet trade in monkeys, and why they shouldn't be pets, and what we can do to help end the trade. So Ricardo, take it away.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to all our participants and followers out there at the www As said before, my name is Ricardo Meade, and I have the pleasure this afternoon of taking you through this webinar, 7 reasons why monkeys are not pets. This is something we need you to internalize and to share. So without much further ado, let's just get right into it. No monkeying around. One, first and foremost, and I think it's really one of the most important factors. They're all important, but this one here has to jump out at you right away. It is very cruel to obtain a monkey. To get a baby monkey, you have to kill its mother. As soon as a baby monkey is born, it clings to its mother, sometimes for up to 2 years. So to get a baby monkey, you will have to kill the mother. So you go into a store in, say, Sawa and say, hey, I saw somebody on Frederick Street with a monkey. I would like to have one. And the guy says, no problem. I can hook you up. $2,500. So you give him 1,000 and you say the balance when the monkey is delivered. He said, no problem, 2-3 weeks. So he makes a call down south. He calls his friend Juan, and Juan calls his friend Jorge, because it's Jorge of the jungle, and Jorge calls his partners, who go, because they are trappers, and they shoot a mother monkey in order to get that baby, because you are waiting in Sawa for your baby monkey. Sometimes when they shoot the mother, the baby gets injured in the fall. Sometimes the baby monkey is shot also. But whichever way it goes, you remove the baby monkey screaming from the mother's dead body. This is very traumatic for that baby. Falling from the trees, shot in pain, and its mother dead, and now a big, hairy, funny-looking human grabbing him and shoving him into a bag. It is very, very cruel. So your quest for your baby monkey starts with murder. Murder in another country most of the times. Next. Now, it's cruel to obtain, but also cruel to keep. So we're going to go through the journey of this monkey as we go through these 7 reasons why monkeys do not make good pets. So after that monkey is bagged up, it's probably taken to a village where some little boy is given some food or a couple coins, a couple dollars to feed the monkey, sometimes stale milk and bread, until they're ready to come over to Trinidad, where it would then get to the shop, and then you pay your money, and then you have the monkey. And now you are a monkey keeper. But look at where you're keeping that monkey, and look at where it came from. In the wild, the monkeys have a wide range, jumping from tree to tree, branch to branch, swinging on vines, running along the ground, playing with each other, rivers and streams, over hill and over dale. Now you have him in a cage at home. They need the company of other wild monkeys. They play and they interact just like children, and they learn. Remember, these are very intelligent animals with a very large brain to body ratio. Then you put them in your house. You said, okay, it's in a cage. I'll let him go in the house. So he jumps on top of the stove, not knowing that the stove is hot. Or he tries to get up to the ceiling and then he's whacked by the fan, or puts his finger in the oscillating fan that you have on the ground. All over the house presents dangers for a monkey that a wild animal should not be exposed to. From chemicals, from flames, even electrocution in and around your home. The lifetime confinement of these monkeys leads to misplaced social and sexual urges. So if you're a female, he thinks that you're his and he bonds to you. So when your husband, your brother, your boyfriend comes around, he now displays aggression because he is the big man. This is his woman. He bites, he scratches. And this can also apply to your children. So many monkeys we've had to take in over the past because the people's children were literally attacked by monkeys. And one of the monkeys we rescued attacked my very own daughter. It bypassed everybody else and went straight towards her, attempting to bite her. Quick hands saved her at that point in time. Then, because they do not know what to do with themselves, it is not unusual for monkeys to literally lose their minds. Yes, they can go crazy. The monotony of life in a cage or in your house, the lack of monkey and social interaction, they can and do lose their minds. So you as the keeper, you're no longer keeper, monkey mother, monkey father. You have jailed this monkey, and many times he turns his aggression towards you. This we need to understand, remembering that these monkeys can live up to 45 years in captivity. Are you ready for this? Next reason why monkeys are not pets.
Oh, sorry, Ricardo. We still have this video put in. Do you want to just play a short clip of it?
You can go right ahead. Notice this monkey here. Gazul is his name. That's Chica up on top. And down below is Gazul. Gazul, if you look at his teeth, they have been cut and ground down so that when he bites, he doesn't inflict severe damage on his keeper. Does that look like a happy animal? No matter what you do or give Gazul, he goes through these bouts of depression, then anger, rages, and fits. He is not a happy camper. He knows and he longs for the wild. Is this what you want to be? Is this the role you want to play for wildlife and for animals and fellow sentient being? We need to understand that this should not occur. But right now, Gazul has no choice but to be where he is. Gazul is about 29 years old. So he's an older guy, but he still has many years to go before he hits the good old 45. So the mental harms of a long time, long life in captivity. So if it dies quickly, it's cruel. And if it lives long, it must bear that anguish throughout its life. Imagine what this animal could tell you about what it's been through. So let's move along to another reason why monkeys are not pets. Physical danger to humans. So I particularly love this one because one of our participants out there is one of our foster monkey mothers, and this is what happens to her regularly. When it's not her hands, it's her back, it's her feet. Yes, those are monkey bites. And that's just one of the many occasions that she has been attacked by these monkeys that she's cared for over the years. They don't get angry. They just seem to just lose their minds and flip on a dime and just go at her. Monkeys are not domesticated. Domestication is a process that takes thousands of years of interaction with selective breeding. These monkeys were just harvested from the wild. Literally 2 or 3 weeks before, they were jumping around with their mothers in the forest in Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname. And then they were ripped from there by cruel means and then brought here. So they're not happy. And their life with humans and so many things that they were denied, they are not happy. They are not domesticated. These are very strong, very intelligent, but very wild animals. They do bite, and they do hurt. Is this what you want for your hands and your children's hands? And your girlfriend, Valentine's is coming up. How many of you or your friends are thinking of, I will give her a monkey because she wants to have a baby? Trust me, buddy. Work on that baby. Work on that baby. At least one day they might take care of you. And hopefully they will never bite you quite like this. They become aggressive. When puberty kicks in and those hormones are raging, they become aggressive and there is nothing you can do. Many people try castration. That is marginally effective. The monkey will be a monkey, and the call of the wild, you cannot quell that. So the physical danger to humans is something that is very real. And it ties into another aspect because there was a case where a game warden went to remove a monkey that had become aggressive with the people, and he was bitten. And I will continue that story when we get to another one of the reasons why monkeys do not make good pets. And we flow right into that. They carry diseases. Soon after the warden was bitten, he fell ill and was taken to the hospital. And within 1 week, he was a dead man. Now, it pains me that this story has not been publicized a whole lot more, because I believe it would have been one of the most effective tools in letting people know these animals should be left in the wild and not messed with. Yep, they carry diseases. They're called zoonotic diseases. These diseases that go from monkey to human and sometimes back. So while we're fighting a pandemic and we're understanding how diseases can be spread, and we're still blaming the bat for the COVID-19 virus, I have no particular opinion on that, but it just serves to show us the example, a prime example about zoonotic diseases. And do you know, if you're in Trinidad and you did well in your schooling and you decided to go and study medicine in Jamaica, there is a vaccine mandate, of course, because Trinidad is a hotbed for yellow fever. Citizens leaving here to go to Jamaica to study, to live, must show proof of having a yellow fever vaccine. Yellow fever is just one. But there was a big flare-up just late last year where many monkeys in the southeast peninsula area of Trinidad were dying in the bushes. Yellow fever. Even many years ago up in Chagaramas, yellow fever. Our local monkeys, yellow fever. So why won't the ones that are brought in from Venezuela have a possibility of yellow fever, tuberculosis, and malaria? There was a time not too long ago where at least 8 monkeys were put down in a local institution because they tested positive for malaria. So is this what you want to invite into your home? The red howlers are known for that. They were known even way back when the Americans were in Chagaramas, that these monkeys carry yellow fever and should be left where they belong in the wild instead of being brought into your home. So monkeys being trafficked in from South America. Who's checking them to see what they have? Who's asking them to cough into something or doing a swab on their nasal or rectal areas? No one. They can bring in some really exotic and funky diseases in Trinidad. And if you think COVID is bad, this can be much worse. Remember a disease called Ebola? And we know who it goes right to: monkeys and then people. So disease is just another reason why we should leave the monkeys in the wild and not bring that into your home. Come on, people, wise up. Next reason, ecosystems are harmed. See, we don't even think about that, harming of ecosystem. But where are these monkeys coming from? And how are they being harvested so that you can have that cute little Chico? They are coming from the mainland, South America. And wherever they are being harvested, they are being reduced in numbers. Remember, the mothers are being shot and the babies are being extracted. And if the babies are extracted and collected and they die, they will go right back again and harvest some more to fulfill the quota for the illegal wildlife trade. So where they live in these areas in Guyana, Venezuela, Suriname, what have you, the animals are being killed, they're being poached. So you're directly doing damage to the local population. Then we must remember that our monkeys here are environmentally sensitive species. The studies over the years have shown the importance of our monkeys in our forest, in regenerating the forest and the spread of certain species of plants. Very important, the red howler, the white-fronted capuchin. That is why they're going to be getting this ESS listing. So when you bring the foreign ones in, they're now threatening our local monkeys and putting a problem for our ecosystem right here. And we know which ones are the important ones. The tufted capuchin. That is probably one of the most famous capuchin in the world. In so many shows, we see them and people, oh my gosh, they're so cute. Then the wedge-cap capuchin is making a strong run for the front runner for imported smuggling and invasive monkeys here in Trinidad. And there are a few others. What are these monkeys bringing in? Where are they living when they escape from you or you release them? What harm are they doing to our environment? Right away, I can tell you that these monkeys, the tufted and the wedge-cap, from personal experience, have a great need for protein in their diet, which means that they will fulfill that need for protein in their diet. And they are also very aggressive to our local species. So they will eat eggs, they will eat birds, they will eat lizards, they will eat snakes, they will eat fish. They will eat anything that their little hands with fingers and opposable thumbs, just like yours, can capture. And also remember, they can get high up in trees, they can swim, they can dive, they can do just about anything a human can do, just do it better and faster. So what is happening is that we are having very harmful effects on our local ecosystem, as well as the original ecosystem where these animals are harvested. Do you still want to have these monkeys? Come on. Let's look at another reason why they do not make good pets. Well, plain talk, bad manners, it is illegal. See it there? Police seize 9 monkeys, firearms, Trinis, and Venezuelans held. Right? So now everybody's up in arms. Oh my gosh, that little boy was shot. And before that, it was, oh my gosh, the Coast Guards are doing nothing. It is illegal to have these monkeys. No permits are being offered for these animals. Forestry Division does not grant permits for monkeys. So that dealer you have on the side there that connecting with you on Facebook and Messenger and telling you he has the monkeys and he also can get you permits. I call on that. No way, no how. Permits were stopped a very long time ago. And you need to have a permit to keep a protected animal. So no permit, but you have the animal, that means you are doing something that's illegal. So if the popo come kicking down your door and say, yeah, we hear you have drugs and guns and monkeys, well, who is to blame them? You see that boat coming across from Venezuela? It's not a people boat. It's not a drug boat. It's not a gun boat. It is a boat that will bring across just about anything. And what people need to understand is that outside of the illegal drug trade, the trade in illegal wildlife is the number 2 illegal economic activity. It have big money in that. So when they're coming across to make money and to have sales, they're not going to stop at customs and say, well, we have a couple monkeys and we have a this and that. Those boats come in the still of the night or sometimes in the middle of the day, but they come in illegally. So next time, if unfortunately you or someone you know is held up at gunpoint, has their car jacked, or unfortunately is hurt, think about where that gun came from. And think about that boat that the illegal monkeys probably came in on that with, along with trafficking of women and children. So your part in all of this, and then you say, oh, Trinidad is a this and a that, and Trinidad is not a real place. It's not a real place because it seems like fake people who can't understand its laws are participating in these illegal activities and then turning around and being the first ones to complain. Let us do our part. This is an illegal activity. It's the same as bringing across the drugs and the guns. Think about all the women and children who are victims. Think of the illegal animals that are brought across also. Please do your part. Number 6, it is illegal. Let's look at number 7 for the reasons. Expensive for keepers. Very much so. If you take on an animal, it is your job. It is your responsibility. That monkey didn't send you a WhatsApp or a Facebook message saying that he wants to come and stay by you and be in your care. No. When you went to that guy in Sawa and asked for that monkey and made that down payment and went back and finished your payment and collected your monkey, you took that upon yourself. And then now, so many people call us all the time. Hi, Wildlife Center. Yes. We have a donation for you. So of course I'm excited. You know, funds are tough, things are rough. I want donation. I'm like, great. What do you have? We want to donate a monkey. You and 25 other people we have on a list. We don't want any monkeys. We understand and know very well how dangerous they can be. We understand that it's illegal. And we understand how expensive they are to keep. And the biggest problem with these monkeys, especially the ones that we get most of the time, which are invasive ones brought in from the mainland, there is no end game. We get the monkey from months to probably a couple years old. And remember, I said they live for 45 years. So who's going to pay for these monkeys for the next how much ever years? 40 years? That's a long, 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 long time to have an animal that is probably there waiting for its opportunity to kill you, plot your overthrow and your demise because he wants to be free. It takes a lot of time to socialize and to work with monkeys and clean them and care for them properly. They need constant attention. When they're bored, they start destroying things. And we have a nice video to show you. It is a favorite of mine where a lady is just lamenting what occurs behind closed doors a lot of times in homes, where there's people think that all the stuff with the monkeys is just wonderful and honky-dory because you saw the person going on the road in a monkey with a cute little t-shirt on or little diapers and it's on their shoulders. That is just a snapshot. That is just a moment in the whole monkey keeping episode. Remember everything else, the disease, the bites, the destruction of your house. It takes a lot of money. A proper monkey enclosure would cost about $7,000. It should be 6 feet by 6 feet by 9 feet. You have that space in your house? You have that money to put out for that? They need a balanced diet. And in the case of the ones from South America, they need lots of protein, high quality protein. So you have the money for that? Then, well, we haven't talked about vet cares yet. Yes, you have to take them to the vet. And well, good luck in finding a vet to deal with your illegal monkey, because the vets are becoming very wary now that these animals are illegal and you bringing them in would turn unwanted and unwarranted attention towards them. They could probably get in trouble for doing that also. There are some that will take the chance. There are some will only see a monkey if you have a permit. And guess what? You don't have a permit. Also, toys, mental stimulation. The monkeys have to be mentally stimulated. A bored monkey is even more dangerous because he sits there looking at you up and down, plotting your demise. So probably if you ask the monkey, what are we going to do tonight? He's going to probably tell you, take over the world, take over your home, take over your man or your woman, because you out there having a good time and I lock up in this cage here eating old rice, like it's sweat rice from Tobago. So a lot must be going on in these animals' minds. So the toys are just another part, and they just love to destroy whatever toy you give them. That's a whole part of it, because you cannot replace what they do in the wild. And the property damage, oh my goodness, the property damage. I will admit, we've had several monkeys, and I came very, very close to getting a shotgun in order to deal with a monkey. I will admit it, because this monkey escaped because the enclosures tend to weaken over time, and they will test that enclosure every day. And their urates, they will rotten out the very best wires that you can put up there, unless you can use PVC coated chain link. So they test and they rock and they roll and they find the rotten places, and monkey escaped. And for beyond a week, we could not recapture this monkey. And it was doing so much damage to the wildlife center that I was at the point where I was considering having someone come in order to put it down. And of course, it was not a local monkey. If it was a local monkey, no problem. The local monkey would have literally gone into the bushes and gone about his life. But this foreign invasive, a wedge-cap capuchin, didn't want to leave the house. And every time you turned your back, we had vent locks, it would be in the house and it would destroy everything. Property damage was severe. It was frustrating. This happens many, many times. And I know people who have literally stoned their own monkeys. So have a look at what a destruction of a kitchen. And this lady, I hope you can hear the audio in this video.
Hey, Crystal, this is where your monkey do my kitchen. You see where your monkey do my kitchen? Mash up everything in my kitchen, girl. All my rice, my little bit of rice. Watch what destruction this little monkey I want to do. I'm going to sell him, you know, Crystal. I'll sell him and we shall split the money. See what he do? Watch, all of that is what he do. Watch that mess. Look at that mess, girl. That is why I come home today and meet all my blender. Oh God, the blender mug break. My blender mug break. Yeah, the blender mug, it look like the blender mug break.
This could be you, or your friend, or your family. And then when it happens, they're going to say, you didn't tell me. So it's wonderful that you guys are tuned in to this webinar this evening. You guys hopefully will become agents of the leave the damn monkey and them alone. They do not make pets. They do not make pets. That is a very dangerous situation you're getting into. It is illegal. They're dangerous. You're harming the environment. So many reasons. So many reasons to leave these things in the wild. And do not come and tell me that you're giving me this monkey because you bought it to save it. I'm not buying that. We don't want that. By you purchasing that monkey, you have empowered the seller and made the trade go one notch into the wrong direction. If nobody buys these monkeys and these guys are stuck with these monkeys, you think they're going to continue bringing monkeys into Trinidad? No, they won't. But because someone is always willing to buy, oh my gosh, I always wanted one. So we're at that point, we need to have this understanding, this education, this sensitizing, this awareness of what these animals need. And what they need is to be in the wild, not in your house, not destroying your house like Crystal's monkey. And what I did learn is that Crystal had 3 monkeys, which they eventually did such a humanitarian good deed. They released these wedge-capped capuchins into our ecosystem. So you see, from one problem to the other, Crystal, I'm sure, is feeling nice. She let them go. She did the right thing. Problem is, they're in the wrong country, Crystal. Those monkeys are not from here in Trinidad. But their numbers are growing and they're creating problems that we, at one point in time, will have to take a hard stance and a hard line as to how we're going to deal with these monkeys. So we move along. What to do if? Well, we take in monkeys. If you offered a monkey for sale, we took in monkeys. We don't take in monkeys anymore. The only monkeys we take in are our local monkeys. That would be white-fronted capuchin and the red howlers. And the reason we take them in, because there is an end game with those monkeys. If we're going to put out this amount of time and money and effort into an animal, let it be for something positive. With the foreign monkeys, there is no end game just yet. We have some plans that are in the works and we hope things work out. But what should you do if they call you up or they message you on Facebook and offer you a monkey for sale? Well, first and simply, just don't buy it. Nobody's putting a gun to your head and forcing you to take this monkey home. Do not buy the wild animal. You are not rescuing the animal if you pay money for it. You're just giving that guy a reason now to go and get another one. Because if you paid 20 US for it and I was able to sell it to you for close to 3,000 TT, that ain't a bad business. So he's going to do it again. Because when you see a sucker, you just got to suck them like a mosquito and draw everything you can from them. And they will use all sorts of lines and all sorts of ways. If you want an interactive companion that you can love and cuddle and have in your house, and nobody going to come and knock down your door, and it's not going to bring zoonotic diseases to you, get yourself a dog or a cat from a shelter facility. You don't even have to buy. They have them for free. You have them for free there. Beautiful animals with great temperaments. Find the right dog or cat for you that matches your life and your lifestyle and wouldn't destroy your home and bite your children and your boyfriend and your wife and your neighbors. You don't want that. Do not encourage this illegal trade, destruction, and harm on both countries, on the mainland and right here in our country. It is a big problem. And we are sounding the alarm very loud. We're not saying, well, it could be. We're saying this is a big problem. And we're asking you to be ambassadors in terms of telling people, do not buy, do not participate. And if you do have your monkeys, please do not release them into the wild here. So what to do if you see a captive monkey? We drive around all the time and we see these monkeys, usually in tiny cages. Many times not a drop of water around. Food stale and moldy or rotting. And the monkey holding on to the bars and looking out, longing for a life, longing for freedom, longing for an opportunity, or just longing for a sip of water. Remember, having monkeys without a permit is against the law. So right away, you know, that monkey ain't got no permit. So it is illegal. And the distress you can see on these animals, I'm sure it must reach and tug at your heartstrings. This is an animal that is 97% like you. You and this animal shares 97% of the same DNA. And I'm sure some of you are even more than that. But I will not get into any name calling with regards to that. Report these matters to the Forestry Division. There's also Crime Stoppers who have come on board. You can get online, crimestopperstt.com. Get on board and make an anonymous report. Even come call in the wildlife section. You do not need to say, well, I am so-and-so and I live in so-and-so and this is my number. Get a location. Find out where they are, write down the address, send it in, drop it in. You can even mail it in, email it in, whatever. Let them know that there is an animal out there under subpar conditions and the animal is suffering. We need to collectively work together to get this done. If you call from your phone, unless you're calling from a private number, your number may show up, but you can put your number to be anonymous, and then you can ask to speak to a game warden and ask. You don't have to give them your name. Just tell them you have witnessed this, and this is the place, and this is the time, and this is the situation. That is the information they need. They do not need you. So please do the right thing. Do not allow this to continue. We need to put a stop to this before things get so bad that it becomes political, and then laws have to be put in place for the control of the monkeys in a manner which will not meet the approval of many people. I'm sure most of you understand what I'm speaking about. I do not have to spell and write for everyone. It is there. If the monkey situation is not controlled basically by the citizen, the law will come into effect, and many times these animals will have to be removed from our ecosystem. And I do not want to see that. And I'm sure you do not want to see that. So let us avoid this situation. If you see a captive monkey, do the right thing and report it. Allow the game wardens, who have now an expanding crew, to do their job. Try and do the best for these animals now and in the future. And speaking of future, there is a future. It's not all bleak. There are ways which we are looking at to be able to curb this situation. So there is a future. And it involves something Trinis like to say. When we see Vennies here, and we're disapproving, we like to say what? Send them back. Well, we hope to be able to do the same thing if we encounter these monkeys. Okay? Right. So if you have a monkey, what should you do? Well, you can't let it go. Not too many places are going to be offering and accepting monkeys anymore. There's only so many monkeys we can take. The center already has 10 monkeys in our care, some with foster homes, but there are 10 in all that are under the care of the center. How much more should we take? And they are the most expensive animal for us to take care of. We're trying out to be out there and saving our local wildlife. Baby birds come in and need formula, bats and manacles that need formula, all sorts of different animals, agoutis, all sorts of things like that. They need medications, antibiotics, all sorts of drugs and formulas and foods and stuff that they need. And then we have this monkey with no end game that's just eating and eating and eating and eating and needs an enclosure and a new enclosure and eating and needs toys and it needs stimulant and it needs care and it needs time. So if you have your monkey and it's not given up or removed from you, while you have the monkey, within your care. It is your ward. So it is your job, it is your duty, your moral obligation to provide appropriate care for that monkey. It is your duty to keep this animal alive after, and most likely because of you and your desire to have this animal, its mother was killed. And not only the mother, a lot of times when they shoot the mother monkey and they grab the baby, the uncle, the father, the auntie, the whole troop starts acting up. And that hunter not leaving that bush without his bounty. So I was told directly by a hunter who was in Guyana, taking part in this horrible ordeal, that they shot as many as 10 monkeys in order to get one out of the bush, because they just kept following them and coming at them. And the man said, me ain't no monkey stop me. So he shoot all of them. So the monkey in your care is again because of humans. And you must do your part to give the animal appropriate care. There are some veterinarians who will provide you with guidance and make sure that the monkeys get the proper medicine. Some of you out there, you have monkeys. When last did your monkey get a worm out? Yep, that's not just for you before you go back to school or go back to work after you was on a big vacation in Tobago. No, internal parasites is something serious. So you taking your Zentel, and what about the monkey? See, just one aspect. Just one aspect. They are also covered in external parasites. Ticks, fleas, lice. This is what you want in your house. So you have to buy the proper medication and treatments to make sure that the animal is taken care of. Do not release these animals, please. I beg of thee, stop that practice. If you have the monkey, you need to provide proper care for it. And letting go an animal that has been removed from its homeland, removed from its mother, and then forced into a human home, putting that animal into the bush and saying, you go do well. Many times, some of these monkeys make it, but many of them are found dead in places because humans would have tortured them, pelt them, shot them, or done some sort of harm to them, even poisoning them. Because when they come around in certain neighborhoods and they start to do damage, some people cannot deal with that. So many times we've had monkeys rehomed. Many times monkeys have to go to the zoo. And many times in the past, monkeys have come to us. But there is something that we're looking at now. The future is bright. We have to continue to have the conversation and take it from beyond the conversation to get it to be action really soon. Send them back. The monkeys can be sent back to their homeland, especially Guyana, who's part of our CARICOM fraternity and also an English-speaking territory. And many, many Trinis, as I'm sure some of you know, will and are heading to Guyana because of the petrochemical industry. We were pioneers in the petrochemical industry, the oil industry. Now Guyana is the novice and the new. And what we have are many people with tremendous experience in terms of supply and labor and expertise heading to Guyana because Guyana is now in a big boom. So we have the potential of establishing wildlife center there to accept these monkeys. Just think about that. The monkeys now removed from their poor conditions here in Trinidad, health checked, and then sent home to Guyana, where they will be accepted into a repatriation project there. And then at some point in time when they're ready, they're released back to their native range. But that's not going to come overnight and easy like that. Capacity has to be built in Trinidad to be able to accept, care for the animals, even diagnose them and determine exactly which animal they are and where they're from. That's going to take money and resources. Then to send the monkeys back, they have to be arrived, they have to go through quarantine there, and then go to a wildlife rehab center there that deals with these monkeys, and then for the ultimate, for them to be released. So even if these monkeys escape that center there in Guyana, guess what? They are home where they belong. Over the long term, we need to rehabilitate and release our native monkeys. There are people who have howlers and white-fronted capuchin. They need help. Some of them know that they have the animals and they're afraid. If you have a native monkey, feel free to reach out to the El Socorro Center for Wildlife Conservation. We will not rat on you. We will not go and send the forest rangers or wardens or game wardens to knock on your door to seize the animal. It can be done in a civil and sensible way with the aim of rehabilitating the animal and getting it back into the wild. And if you have an animal that is a non-native, spider monkey, squirrel monkey, black top, black cap, wedge cap, all these other capuchins that are not from here, they will have to be provided with sanctuary until such a time that they can go back to their native homes. Imagine how wonderful you would feel if you had made the mistake of acquiring a foreign monkey. Then it came to a sanctuary and then got into a program that would facilitate its repatriation. And then and you could have documented and seen that monkey go from Trinidad back to Guyana and then jumping around in the forest of Guyana where it belongs. Wouldn't that be a whole lot better than you have this monkey chained around its waist in the hot sun in a BRC cage, chomping away on rust all the time? Yes, things are going to cost. Everything has a cost. But at the end, the other option that we are trying to stay away from would cause both local, regional, and international uproar if it comes to the point where the monkeys have to be culled from Trinidad and Tobago. And if you have your monkey, which is a foreign monkey, non-native, and you release it, and the numbers continue growing as they are currently, you're going to have farmers complaining. You're going to have all sorts of people complaining about these monkeys. And then when the politicians get together and they come up with actions, we most likely are not going to like them. So we want to spearhead this potential Guyana repatriation project, set up something there. So if anybody of you know, you have friends, family, cousins in Guyana who would love to be part of such a project. So when we go to the authorities, we're going to say, we have Mr. X with a farm outside of Berbice who will be able to receive the monkeys, and then let the diplomatic part take over where they communicate and try to get these animals home where they belong. It's been done all over the world with all sorts of different animals that are part of the wildlife trade. We can do it right here to get things from Trinidad to Guyana. So don't just look at this webinar and say, oh, that was nice, that was interesting. We need you to get involved. You getting involved is the difference. You getting involved before the politicians do their normal knee-jerk reaction to pressure from certain groups. And sometimes the groups where the pressure comes from are not well-intentioned or not holistic. They think and see what they want to see, what affects them, and not the whole. We want what is best for the animals. We really want to nurture nature. And these are a part of it, and probably one of the biggest ticket items in the wildlife trade. So if you can have any resources, ideas, contact us, contact Nurture Nature and any one of the coalition partners. Let us get involved to put Trinidad and Tobago on the map for doing something positive and wonderful for wildlife, instead of being a hub for the wildlife trade and a place where so many monkeys come to suffer and die because so many people did not pay attention to the 7 reasons why monkeys do not make pets. I shall say it again. Monkeys do not make pets. So partner with us, work with us, and let us make this a reality. Let us be a positive light in this whole dim, dark, dismal, ghastly, illegal activity of trading wild animals. Get involved. Right. So now we have favorite part. We have over 25 participants there, and we can have a discussion and question and answer. So we get to hear your voices.
Yes, thank you so much, Ricardo. We really, really appreciate you hosting this webinar this evening. Thank you again, and let's open the floor for discussion and Q&A. So we have the Nurture Nature panel, the core team, which would be myself, Lauren Alley, and Mark Gibson, as well as Ricardo, available to answer questions. So we've got a few coming in the Q&A. So the first question I think came in during the presentation. It says, what does the Venezuelan situation have to do with the trafficking? Is it a desperation for money? Mark, as the team's criminologist, do you want to take this one?
Hey, sure. Thanks, Neve, and thanks, Ricardo. The Venezuelan situation definitely plays into it. As far as we can tell from historical research, this trade has been going on for a very long time. There is just a short gap between Trinidad and mainland South America. There are the indigenous Warao in the Orinoco, and the Orinoco has long been one of the poorest regions of Venezuela, even back when it was in a healthy economic state. So we know the wildlife trade has been actually going on for a very long time due to traditional trade routes. But with the Venezuela situation, it is a traditional trade on steroids. It has all the impetus now, people looking for anything that they can sell to try and make a little bit extra money and take care of their family. So Venezuela's situation plays into this quite a bit. I'd love to be able to tell you how much it's actually increased the trade, but really until we started our research project here a few years ago, there really wasn't any data on this. So we know it's substantially increased. We've heard that from traffickers, we've heard that from sellers, but we don't know how much over, say, the traditional routes.
Great. We have another question. Do our native capuchins also carry yellow fever? What other diseases are they known to carry? Locally, the red howlers are known to cyclically have yellow fever outbreaks, and our native capuchins also do carry yellow fever. I believe the other risk factors would potentially be tuberculosis and malaria as diseases that can pass from monkey to human. But in terms of other potential zoonoses that maybe only present in monkeys that pose a risk to being able to jump to humans, I am unsure. There's not a whole lot of research outside of the yellow fever research that has been done.
There is the Mayaro disease, the Mayaro virus that was discovered, guess where? In 1954, right here in Trinidad. And there's a whole lot, just about anything that a human can get, a monkey can get, and vice versa. So just remember that. Okay.
I'll add a few extra thoughts there. Is something I found very interesting about the monkey trade is that you have the viruses which would be found in them naturally in the wild, things like yellow fever. And then you have other things that they would typically acquire because they're in human captivity and they're very susceptible to it. So leptospirosis is one. When they're in cages, rats, bats, all sorts of things would come by the cages. So they can become carriers of this. And same thing for tuberculosis, which we know has actually been documented here in Trinidad, being transferred from a monkey to a family.
Yep, that's how the forest ranger died. He was bitten and developed tuberculosis.
Wow. And tuberculosis, TB, feels like such a old disease that shouldn't persist anymore, but when interacting with wild monkeys, you never know. The next question is, what are the responsibilities for vets to attend to or report these pets? So we actually did host a webinar with vet students that posed these types of ethical questions around what they should do if they interact or potentially interact with animals in the harmful illegal pet wildlife trade. Their duty of care, of course, it's really personal whether they feel like they can take the risk of interacting with what is potentially, well, in the case of monkeys, what is an illegally acquired and kept animal, and their duty to provide care. Many vets either will not receive or will not treat monkeys, but the ones that do will often do so in a manner they won't, they won't snitch, they won't report if it is that the monkey is, or the wild animal in question is receiving decent care. I do believe sometimes if in the instance where they are concerned about animal welfare abuses, they may ask for the monkey to be relinquished, which we know has happened. If that answers your question. The next question from someone is, when you report a monkey as a pet, where do they get taken to? Mark, Ricardo, anybody?
Well, we've absolutely blanked all non-native monkeys for the longest while. The policy of the forestry division is to send them to the zoo.
Yeah.
So that would answer your question. Even if it's a native, they're usually sent to the zoo. But upon direct communication with us, if it is determined to be a local or native species, then we can accept it. That is our policy.
Mm-hmm. Then another question is, will the recording be available if others are interested in seeing this? Yes, this recording will be available. It should be put online, I would say by Monday at the latest, and available on our website. And the Facebook Live is also going to be saved to Facebook as a shareable option. Then we've got a few questions in the chat. Let me just open it up. Let's see. Okay, we've got. Right, where should one report? So that's been answered through the webinar. So basically, if you see somebody with a monkey, please do call the forestry division, and you can also call Crime Stoppers if you would like to remain anonymized, and you can also maintain your anonymity through forestry division as well. Let's see. Someone says, thank you for this talk on the topic. So many times I try to explain to people that they're not pets and they don't listen. Very true. Right, so don't release the monkeys, but it's illegal to have them. So what is the option for the owner? The option would be to either decide to provide long-term care, though this is with the caveat that it is still illegal. There is currently no policy to provide permits to monkey owners, or you relinquish the pet. Particularly if it's not native, do not release it. But even if it is native, monkeys would still need to go through a rehabilitation process before they can survive in the wild after being held in captivity. Not sure if I missed it, but could you possibly state the ramifications of a vet treating an illegal monkey? And this person is asking as a vet. So Mark, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think the key consideration that a vet would want to take is if you take the animal into your possession. So are you observing it overnight? By the letter of the law, you would need a possession permit. So it might be best if you are treating the animal only on visitation or a home visit, in which case you should not be doing anything by any measure of the law that would be illegal. And I have never heard of any of the game wardens trying to go after vets for treating animals. They seem to very much respect what the veterinary practice is about, which is to do no harm. So I think in general, you have a very low risk, and you're going to have a much lower risk if you don't take that animal into your own possession.
Fantastic, thank you. We have one person has asked, do people eat monkeys? It's not unheard of.
Yes, they do. Yes, indeed they do. In fact, I could not believe it. A story goes back, and I've seen the proof. Many years ago, the Defense Force, the Defense Force hosted a French contingent in Trinidad on a joint training exercise. They taught the Frenchies what they knew, the Frenchies taught the locals what they knew. And then at the end of the exercise, the whole diplomatic thing, there was a dinner where the ambassadors and, the big folks, would come to dine and so on. And there was a menu prepared. And on that menu was red howler. Now, the French are known for their culinary adventurism, I would put it, and eating all sorts of stuff. Frog's legs is for one, escargot, all that sort of stuff. But they were quite shocked that the people would add what they considered an endangered animal here to the menu and offer it to these people and have it right there. They were shocked by that. Okay, so even these people had a certain respect for native wildlife. Yes, they eat frog's legs, but do you know what? Those are farmed. So they're sustainable. Killing our local monkeys for delicacy is, however, not sustainable. And along with all the other problems, but that is not sustainable by any means. And if it shocked those people, imagine how it would have felt to other people or to other parts of the world. So yes, and I've many other cases where people have killed and eaten monkeys, and there was even a video, I think they finally took it down, him literally dipping into the pot and showing, to prove that it was monkey, they're showing the different parts of the animal, including the hands, which are very much like that of human. So
Yes.
yeah.
So yes, not unheard of, not very common, but definitely not unheard of. Another question that we have is the tufted capuchin population has skyrocketed in Chaguaramas and seems to have pushed/is pushing the white-fronted out. What measures are being taken to avoid this further? So the tufted capuchin population is established in breeding, and there is a cyclical system where now some people are even going into Chaguaramas to capture them, to put them back in the trade. Though this is small. However, the trade is, the breeding population is continually being augmented by the frequent and continued release of other traded monkeys. So while the population required at one point a whole host of monkeys released around the same time that were mature enough to breed, and the situation, the ideal situation for them happened, and they established a breeding population. If they'd only ever been one releases that never interacted with each other, this perhaps might not have ever happened. But unfortunately now the population is established. And there are people looking at the ecology and distribution and their interactions. There is research that, and as well as the need for future research to see what real invasive risk they pose. But as of yet, there is no management plan. If the population were to continue to expand and potentially move eastward or threaten further ecosystems, sensitive ecosystems, a management plan may need to be put in place, as Ricardo mentioned, and this may upset people should, culling be suggested. Preferably, we would like that to possibly not have to happen. And the only thing in place now is that monkeys need to be relinquished, or people need to be reported and have them confiscated, so that their options are not to release it in the wild, and to encourage others to not release them in the wild, though they think they're doing the right thing by the monkey, because there is whether there is not enough awareness that these monkeys are not native. We see a monkey and we think, oh, well, we have monkeys here, so they can go in the bush. We see them in Chaguaramas, so they, that must be where they're from. This is in fact not the case. So yes, as of now, there is no strict management plan, but essentially the need is to not release further monkeys, to augment their already established breeding population. As far as we know, only individuals of the wedge cap species has been seen, and we are not currently sure if there's any established breeding population of the wedge-capped capuchin. It's solely the tufted capuchin that poses a invasive risk at the moment. Another question we have is, apart from monkeys, are there other animals being taken from the Venezuelan bush and imported into Trinidad for selling as pets? There are many. I might direct you to our website, nurturenature.tt.org. We do have a listing of some of the species that are found in the trade that are taken from the mainland and brought here. As this webinar is focused on monkeys, we'll stick to monkeys, but if you do want to learn more, you can follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. We're not very active on Twitter, but we do exist, and you can definitely check out our website for more materials.
Yep.
Is there already a calculated critical limit for the population of tufted capuchins, at which point culling would be the best or only course of action? That would really be a conservation management question that would require a lot of scientific research to determine just yet. So I can't talk to it, but there are ways of which management might decide. But that would require science-based conservation management plans.
Yeah. What I might add to that is that because of the ad hoc nature in which we deal with nature in this country, everything is going to be a problem. Like right now, the monkeys there might have wiped out from existence in that particular area a particular hummingbird. But how would we know that? Is there anybody who would have studied the hummingbirds there to say, okay, there's a population of, say, emeralds there, or ruby topaz. So now that the monkeys have been there for the past 5 years, and in the past 5 years, the numbers have declined to the point where you're not seeing them anymore. So that's it. Without baseline, without studies, without knowing what we have, it's hard to determine what we don't have and when things like this occur. So it's always going to be anecdotal, shot in the dark. Well, I don't see this anymore. It's going to be really hard because we're not going to be able to pull up the figures and say in 79, there were X amount, Y amount, and now we have this. That is a big problem in dealing with any issue with wildlife in Trinidad and Tobago. Where do we start to make the comparisons to know where we're going in terms of increasing, decreasing, or totally vanished? And that is a problem that we have to address going forward.
Yes, it definitely talks to a need of consistent scientific baseline surveys, of which we have some knowledge. We have some historical information about both our natives and the tufted capuchin and shagaramas. So it's really just, the need for continued surveys and monitoring, along with whole ecological studies, of course. We have one question. Are monkeys and other wildlife often kept with domestic or farmed animals, and how much additional risk might this pose to each? Yes, some people may keep a monkey while also having dogs and cats, or they may have them in a farm or a small farm situation. The monkeys can get quite aggressive, but so too can a dog or startled domestic pet. So there is always a risk of physical danger of both the monkeys and your domestic pets. Additionally, whether diseases can pass, or pests, or ticks, fleas, those are all things that can jump from a monkey to a dog or cow or sheep. So it's definitely an additional risk. Someone said, this program was superb. I wish you could do a series on other wildlife like parrots and macaws. We have done a few webinars on those topics as well. We've done a preventative parrot care webinar that highlights the trade and also the issues faced by parrots and macaws that are kept in captivity. That's a recorded webinar you can find on our website, along with many other materials about the parrots and macaws in the trade, as well as the other animals that we've identified as being traded in the harmful and illegal pet wildlife trade in Trinidad and Tobago. So please do please find yourself on our website. We've got lots of information there. Yeah. Lauren has sent the link into the website. Yes, we've done a invasive species webinar on the red ear sliders previously. We have someone asking, are white-fronted capuchins considered at risk or endangered at this point? What about red howlers? Both of our native species are being proposed as to be designated as environmentally sensitive species by the EMA. Not because they are considered to be at risk. So yes, their populations are decreasing, but also the potential misuse of them, as well as concerning, as well as their critical role in the habitat. So yes, they're being considered for environmentally sensitive species listing, which would actually then allow them to have greater legal protections. I believe the fine for harming a ESS species is 100,000 TT and or 2 years imprisonment. So this does give our two native species, which are endemic and only found here, much greater protections under the law.
Definitely.
Another question, for people who do have pet monkeys, how would you recommend keeping the external parasites to a limit? Would you use substances that are used on dogs? I know the monkeys like white vinegar. Is that good enough? Ricardo?
The stuff that you would use on a dog or a cat would be appropriate for the monkey externally. As far as internal, I would suggest getting a dosing rate and a drug from the veterinarian. Too much can be a problem and too little will be ineffective. So internal, veterinarian, external, the stuff that you would use for external parasites on your dogs or your cat would be appropriate.
Definitely want to reiterate the need that if you are providing long-term care for a monkey, that definitely you need to have a veterinarian that you can visit and ask advice and medical care, veterinarian care. This is critical. Many wild animals, including monkeys, will hide or mask symptoms. So it's not always easy for humans or the untrained eye to even recognize when an animal is ill until things are quite progressed, as well as the fact that we simply it's not advised to self-diagnose or misdiagnose anything. So always please go to the vet for any of your animals, dog, cat, monkey. Please, if you're providing care to any animal, it is always best to take it to a vet.
Definitely.
Any other? I'm looking at the website. Will Nature one day do a presentation of sharks and the eating of sharks? Well, actually, Lauren Ali, our co-manager, has actually done her field research on the sharks and shark trade in Trinidad and Tobago. So we would love to have Lauren present on her research and her findings one day.
I wasn't gonna talk out of Mark's picture, but I could present on sharks right now. Like whenever you guys are ready, we'll do that.
Definitely. Maybe if you're interested in learning more about sharks, you can always reach out and we'll put you in direct contact with Lauren until such a day that we can present on the whole shark trade.
And she will sing the baby shark song too.
No, I will not, but Ricardo will join in.
Baby.
Please, no baby shark song.
The participants are going to go nuts because it's going to stick in your head all weekend.
No. Do we have any other? We've got thank you for great presentation. Oh, thank you very much. Someone's loved this and says we're great. So thank you for that. Do we have any other questions? Lauren or Mark, is there any other questions coming in from the Facebook stream?
There are no questions right now that I'm seeing on the Facebook stream, but we've had quite a lot of active participation right here. There is one question I think we missed in the Q&A.
Yeah, I had just gotten one. Go ahead, Lauren.
Yeah, there's just one question I'm seeing in the Q&A that looks like we missed, which is that there's an organization called HOPE can monkeys be relinquished to them? Hey, the video, it works. Awesome.
Hey, look who.
I hope you mean Homes for Pets Everywhere. I'm vaguely familiar with them as a Facebook group. And I know they do a lot of great work with domestic animals, but I don't think that they would have the facilities to care for a monkey, unfortunately.
We've got, if we would like to get advice or hear more on monkeys, how should we contact you? Well, you can always contact the campaign and we can pass your information or the contacts for Ricardo onto you. But of course, you can always get in contact with the El Socorro Center through email, and you have a telephone number, yeah?
The telephone number is 366-4369. The number once again, 366-4369. All calls are $4.99 a minute. No, I'm just kidding. Just give us a call, please. We're willing to help.
Also, you guys, they have a great Facebook and social media, well, Instagram page, so you can always follow to keep updated, which I recommend. I definitely recommend everyone follow ECWC. They're a fantastic member of our NGO coalition, if you don't already follow them. Oh, that's Ricardo's voice, not Mark's voice. But yes, Ricardo has a fantastic public speaking voice.
I'll just add, I got a great WhatsApp from an anonymous supporter who wanted to point out that if you do have a monkey and you ever do want to relinquish, another option would be to speak to your veterinarian, who may be able to take possession of the animal and contact the game wardens if it's something that you wanted to avoid any sort of legal risk. So I thought that was a great point. So thank you to our anonymous contributor with that.
Yeah, that is a great point.
Definitely. Definitely. And I'm hoping that the ESS that comes on is the precursor to solid and sensible action to dealing with the illegal ones, non-native ones coming in, so that you need to protect your local stuff, because you say, okay, caught smuggling these foreign things, you're in trouble. People switch to the local stuff. So now by taking in front and protecting the local stuff, we hope that's a precursor, and now there's going to be action taken to deal with the situation of the invasives that are literally taking over our country, and sadly so. I have nothing against wedge caps, black capped, and all these other monkeys, but they'll be better off where they came from, so that ours can thrive here in what is already a diminishing home front for them.
Yes, definitely. So yes, the biggest or the most frequently traded monkey would be the tufted capuchin, which are the ones that have established a breeding population in the Western Peninsula, and as well as then closely followed by the wedge-capped capuchin, which is actually one that's on the screen there. Those are also frequently traded, and they both, to many who are unassuming, may get confused and think they're all just one type of monkey and that any monkey can just be released into our wilds, which is not true. We have our own endemic species of white-fronted capuchin that are particularly more docile and have smaller family troops and generally kind of more chill than the mainland species. So they definitely pose a potential risk in terms of territory and resources in a forest that they may end up being shared with non-native species. Oh, someone has said the person who's asking the question meant Hope under the wildlife center called RAW. So, okay, so not Hope, the Facebook page for domestic animals, but RAW, R-O-A-R.
Right, that's Rennie's Orphanage and Animal Rescue. So the Hope they're actually referring to is the House of Primate Enrichment and Education. So yeah, Rennie does, yeah, Rendell does have a wildlife center. And to my knowledge, I think like he should be able to help out in some circumstances, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So while Ricardo is our NGO coalition member, so we're most able to talk to the issues with ECWC, there are a few other groups that do also care for animals that are in the trade. but we've got Ricardo on this one here, so we can direct questions to him.
But yeah, feel free to reach out to Randall directly and discuss with him. We can't speak on his behalf.
Yeah. Someone has said, has Ricardo always had that lovely voice? I think that's probably been a long-standing voice you have there, Ricardo, yeah?
Yeah, it kind of grew on me. Along with the mustache and the beard and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's been it's been there a while. I kind of miss using it. Pandemic. I haven't spoken to live people in seems like forever. So I'm a little bit excited today, and even though I'm just looking at the screen and speaking, but
You've got
it's
lots
just
of
great.
animals to talk to instead, yeah?
Yeah, they don't appreciate my voice too much, especially the parrots. And people don't know that parrots don't like deep voices. That's why
Oh.
they usually use the voice of women and children for them to mimic. When my parrot or macaw imitates me, they do this. That's what I sound like to them. But a high pitch they can pick up that there. So I'm just really happy that people appreciate my voice. Thank you.
Yes, we're not parrots or macaws. We can appreciate you don't sound like a muffled.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions before we sign off? We've gone half hour or so into the Q&A, so we're kind of wrapped up. I think we've covered most of our questions. If you have any others, feel free to email, message, get in contact with us if we've missed your question or you want any further information. It was fantastic having everybody on this evening, and we hope we were able to convince you under 7 reasons why monkeys are not pets.
Right. Did you tell them about the quiz now? I would just like to thank each and every one. Thank you for taking your time off on a Friday to be with us on this very, very important matter. This webinar means a lot to me. This topic, which with monkeys means a lot, as with all wildlife. But the monkeys are a problem that we're trying to see if we can cut off of the past before it really blows up into a big problem that would put a real stain on our nation. In terms of the handling, sometimes we don't do the very best that we can with these matters, especially when it becomes political. So we're trying to see if we can get sensible, objective discourse and then direction towards dealing with this matter. So thank you very much. And each one of you, I now tag you and task you with the responsibility of becoming an ambassador to go out there and share the word. You don't have to beat people, just try to educate them as to why monkeys are not pets.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for presenting this evening, Ricardo. It was great having you as always. And thank you for everyone that's joined. And please direct any other questions to us on social media or through our website or email. We'd be happy to answer any further questions. And we hope to see you all again very soon. So have a good evening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Ricardo, and thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Thank you all very much.
Cheers, guys.